Hello. Good morning, everybody. Today is the special session on something on virology. And among us, a renowned virologist is here. She has name in Fields Virology. That is the textbook, international textbooks book of virology. And she is the famous authority in Japanese encephalitis. She has done basic research on this. First of all, I would like to invite Director Sir to welcome her with the bouquet. She is my teacher and I know her for the last 35 years. I know we didn't know what is the virology, and she has given a basic platform to learn what is virology. Now I would like to request Director Sir to give the brief about the madam. Thank you.
Good morning. It's a matter of great privilege and honor to introduce Professor Asha Mathur, FNA, who's also been my teacher. She was formerly the head of microbiology at the King George's Medical University, Lucknow. Currently, she is the head of pathology and microbiology at the Saraswati Dental College at Lucknow. She has been honored with numerous awards like the Hari Om Alembic Research Award by the Medical Council of India. It was presented by the Prime Minister of India at the time in 1984. A Lifetime Achievement Award by the Indian Academy of Microbiologists in 2008. She is the recipient of the first Senior National Women Bioscientist Award by the Department of Biotechnology, DBT, which was presented by the Minister of Science and Technology in 1999. The Dr. Om Prakash Bhasin Award for Science and Technology. She has received several awards from the Indian Council of Medical Research. You name it, and that award has been awarded to her. And in different years, 1983, she received one award of the ICMR. In 1987, another research award from Indian Council of Medical Research. 1996, again from Indian Council of Medical Research. Besides the Indian Council of Medical Research, the Medical Council of India awarded her in 1984 for her research work, and in 2004. The country has got 4 national science bodies, 3 of scientists and 4th of medical. She is a fellow of the National Science Academy, which was awarded to her in 1990. The Indian Academy of Sciences, Bangalore, which is from the Indian Institute of Science. The National Academy of Sciences, FNASC from Allahabad. The National Academy of Medical Sciences, FNAS, New Delhi, 1992. She's over 200 research publications. It's not the number, it's also the quality of articles of hers, which is very important. If you do a PubMed or Google, you will land up seeing that the type of work that she's carried out. She started the AIDS Surveillance Center in the state of Uttar Pradesh. Dr. Mathur's profile has been displayed as a pathfinder as Indian women scientist in the National Science Center, New Delhi. And if you see the science or wheel strain of eminent scientists, if you get into it, the first photograph that you come across is of Professor Asha Mathur as eminent women scientist of the country for her contribution to Japanese encephalitis and microbiology. Her brief autobiography was published in different books, and a book called as Leelavati's Daughter on Eminent Indian Women Scientists by the Indian Academy of Sciences. The Girl's Guide to a Life in Science on Eminent Indian Women Scientists, published by the Indian Academy of Sciences again in 2011. She is a member of the Advisory Committee of international and national bodies, members of all possible high-power committees in the Government of India and international organizations, and she's a member of the task force for Japanese encephalitis and other diseases from the Department of Biotechnology, Science Technology, and the Indian Council of Medical Research. She's been an excellent teacher and a researcher. We still remember that as undergraduates, when we were studying there, At 8 o'clock or 8:30 in the morning, you could see her lab in the basement, but she would be the person there and working throughout the day, and you would never see Madam anywhere else. Only time she would be out to take her lecture. She has guided numerous PhD and MD theses in students. Her students are all across the country and all over the world, and greatly acknowledge her contribution in shaping their careers and being mentored to a lot of them. And she's still invited all over the world to give talks on different issues, and she'll be talking about Japanese encephalitis, a persistent threat, the work that she has carried out on Japanese encephalitis. Madam, please.
First of all, I'd like to thank Professor Sanjeev Mishra, Director, AIIMS here, for his kind words and inviting me here to speak on the Japanese encephalitis. I literally feel honored to embrace the young budding students, the teachers, and the faculty of this institute. I will speak on Japanese encephalitis today. Can I have the slide? Japanese encephalitis is a mosquito-borne disease. It's the virus which is causing this disease is known as the Japanese encephalitis virus. It was first discovered in Japan and then restricted there for many, many years, for about 60, 70 years. Then large-scale epidemic occurred in China in mid-50s, and sporadic cases were reported in south of India, that is Nagpur, Madras, and Vellore, and then it is spread to the Southeast Asia. It is one of the major causes of acute encephalitis and responsible for thousands of deaths each year, with high mortality, especially in children, thus poses a serious public health problem. So it is literally a very serious problem in eastern part of the UP and number of parts of the India now. Can I have, okay. It is maintained in nature in a transmission cycle involving mosquito, birds and pigs. Mosquitoes are the vector, transmitting the virus from one vertebrate host to the another, and maintained in nature without catching the disease themselves. The pigs and birds are the principal virulent vertebrate host, and the disease is transmitted from one vertebrate host to another via mosquito. The immune system of the mosquito recognizes the virus as well and destroys the virus's genomic coding, rendering it harmless for itself. The natural cycle of the Japanese encephalitis virus in India is that it runs. Birds and pigs are the principal virulent vertebrate host, and the mosquito is the vector, and mosquito transmit the disease from one vertebrate host to the another, and man is an accidental host or accidentally involved in this cycle. The further transmission for the human being is not there. So the cycle, it is between the pigs and mosquitoes, or a cycle is between the pigs and the birds, and sometimes the transmission from one vertebrate host to the other vertebrate host is there. The human being or the man is an accidental host. Further transmission from the human being is not there because the level of the virus titer is very high there. Man is the accidental host. It's further transmission from the men is not there. This is the mosquito which transmit the virus, and it is known as the Culex trichinorhynchus. Can you tell me what is the mosquito which transmit the dengue virus? Aedes mosquito. So it is a very different mosquito. It is the Culex mosquito which transmit the disease from one vertebrate host to the another. So now I'll briefly tell how I started working on Japanese encephalitis virus and involved more and more in subsequent year. I was working on respiratory viruses before, and then an extensive unknown epidemic of encephalitis occurred in eastern districts of the UP during post-monsoon season in 1978, involving large segment of the population. It was a very extensive epidemic, and with high mortality was there. And the doctors there, they tried to identify the organism, but failed, and that's why it was known as the mystery fever. It captured news headlines everywhere. Everyone is talking about this epidemic, and they failed to isolate the organism. Clinical illness was higher in the younger age group, and case fatality was very high, 28 to 30%, thus posing a serious public health problem. And that aroused our interest to study these cases. The Gorakhpur a number of districts were involved. The Gorakhpur, Bahraich, Basti, Gonda, Devariya. It was a very widespread epidemic, and so that aroused our interest to study these cases. Though the Gorakhpur is about 300 kilometers from Lucknow. So I went there, studied these cases in detail, and observed the clinical illness. The onset of the disease was rapid, with headache, fever, anorexia, vomiting. Then some of them, they developed the convulsion, neck rigidity, altered state of the consciousness, and some developed the coma. With varying degree of neurological signs, as a dull mask-like face, muscular rigidity, cranial nerve palsy, movement incoordination, and a speech defect. So patients were quite serious. We investigated, and hundreds of cases were admitted in the hospital. We investigated these cases. The first thing came in mind was the malaria, because malaria is epidemic at that place. We also investigated these cases for dengue, viral infection as a dengue, chikungunya, West Nile, Japanese encephalitis virus infection, and also investigated these cases in detail for any bacterial infection is there or not. So, a very thorough investigation. I and my team visited Gorakhpur many times. And first thing, we examined the blood smear, and the blood smear was examined for, first thing is for the malaria parasite. And we carefully examined, we asked the pathologist to examine these slides, but we failed to detect any stage of the malaria parasite in the blood film. There was neutrophil leukocytosis, or polymorphonuclear leukocytosis was there, and the pleocytosis, which indicates it is a bacterial infection. Because the polymorphonuclear leukocytes, they are increased during the bacterial infection. We collected the blood, CSF, and the throat swab, etc. of hundreds of patients, and inoculated into the tissue culture, failed to isolate any bacteria. And then we started looking for the etiological diagnosis of the virus there. And the virus isolation at that time, because the epidemic occurred in 1978, was literally very difficult. ELISA was not there. ELISA developed after the AIDS emergence, it is 83 or 84, and the PCR was not available in our college. And so we inoculated these specimens for virus isolation, especially the CSF and the brain tissue was collected from the dead patients and inoculated intracerebrally into the infant mice. That is one of the way of isolating the virus and identify the organism by doing the neutralization and complement fixation test. And the mice, we watched the sick mice for the sickness in the mice and observed to our surprise the mice, they become sick, infant mice, after 4 or 5 days of the 4 or 5 days of inoculation. We first look for the dengue virus because dengue, large number of the cases of the dengue infection or the cases were there, but failed to identify or failed to demonstrate the dengue virus. And then surprisingly we demonstrated the presence of that by neutralization test we identified that the epidemic is due to the Japanese encephalitis virus infection. Within 7 or 8 days we were successfully demonstrated that epidemic was due to the Japanese encephalitis virus. Virus isolation part is very difficult actually. And so at the same time we started collecting the blood sample also and paired sera, especially one at the acute stage, the other one as the convalescent phase, and demonstrated 4-fold rise in antibody titer. That also was a little difficult thing to collect the paired sample from a same patient. We also identified the positive organism by examination of the CSF demonstrating the IgM antibody, also examining the blood for IgM antibody, and JE diagnosis was established in 647 cases. So collected number of specimens, did different tests immediately the same day after coming from the Gorakhpur, even at evening or night at 7 or 8 o'clock in the evening, we inoculated the infant mice and started doing the serology and demonstrated that the epidemic was due to the Japanese encephalitis virus. And this is some of the mice, adult mice. This is the mice which had an arched neck and these are the infant mice. Typical sickness of JE was there. Because identification part is very, I think it takes usually 6-7 days because you inoculate the infant mice, then identify it. During that period, we developed a rapid diagnostic test for identification of the JE, and that is using the immunofluorescent test. Immunofluorescent was previously used for influenza virus, for respiratory viruses, but never used before for the JE virus identification. And we had the JE specific monoclonal antibodies and started giving the diagnosis at the same day. Sometimes the patient send the CSF from the pediatric ward, and the same day we started giving the diagnosis if it is positive for the JE. And this is the beautiful immunofluorescence, green color of the immunofluorescence, using the fluorescent isothiocyanate reagent with the monoclonal antibody. Some of these cases, follow-up study was done in these cases, and JE confirmed cases showed development of the sequelae, which were more common in the younger age group, as felt motor deficit, speech defect, mental retardation, convulsions in more than 30% of the cases. So the sequelae was developed in 30% of the cases. About 30% patient die and 40% patient they recover after the JE virus infection. Some patient completely recovered, came back after a year or two with recurrence of the disease. We tried to find out what is the cause, but at that time we failed to isolate the virus or demonstrate the IgM antibody. So we were not sure that these cases will come back are actually were of JE or not. But we presume that it is a recurrence of the disease there. So I have briefly described my talk in 4 parts. First, the transplacental transmission. The second is the host defense mechanism, persistence and latency of JAV, and neutrophil chemotactic factor. Because we were very surprised why the neutrophil leukocytosis is there. Usually during the viral infection there is lymphopenia and the protein count is very much reduced, while in the bacterial infection it is the neutrophils which are increased. But in our case, in these cases, we observed the neutrophil leukocytosis. Can I have the next slide? Then we came across a very interesting observation, and that was one of the pregnant lady came with us in the hospital. A large number of the cases they started coming in Lucknow also. So I was in KGMC at that time. So the patient came, a pregnant lady came, and we admitted in the medical ward. They sent the specimen. We identified that she is a case of JE, and the treatment was going on there. Next slide. And then we was surprised that one day one of the residents rushed with the fetus to us that the lady she has aborted, and from the brain, liver and placenta of the fetus we isolated the Japanese encephalitis virus, and that was the first report in literature showing the transplacental transmission of the virus. It was not reported, but because the resident has come with the fetus, and so we collected the different organs, the liver, spleen, placenta, and then we successfully isolated the virus, inoculated the specimen the same day into the infant mice, and that was the first report which showed the human transplacental transmission of the virus. And that was the first report showing the human transplacental transmission of the virus. So, during that epidemic, we came across 5 pregnant ladies. 2 of them, they aborted. 2 delivered apparently normal baby, and the fate of the one was not known. From the 2 pregnant ladies who aborted in the hospital, we successfully isolated the virus from them and confirmed that this is infection, that they got the Japanese encephalitis infection, and confirmed this in subsequent years in no human cases. So that was a very new finding and a very unique finding showing the human transplacental transmission. But to study this phenomenon in detail, it is not very difficult. Why some aborted, why some delivered apparently normal baby? And to study this thing, we developed the animal model. We tried a number of the models, animals for this, and successfully, can I have them? And successfully developed the mouse model to study these cases. Inoculated the pregnant mice, demonstrated the transmission transmission, isolated the virus from the fetus. To study these phenomena in detail, we have taken pregnant mice or given the virus at different trimester of the pregnancy, some at the first trimester, some at the second, and some at the third trimester of the pregnancy, and observed the outcome of the pregnancy. The virus was isolated from the pregnant mice and from the fetus and the newborn mice. High incidence of abortion and neonatal death observed if the infection occurred in the first trimester of pregnancy as compared to second and third trimester of pregnancy. So if the infection is during the early stage of the pregnancy, usually the abortion was there. But if the infection of the late trimester of the pregnancy, then the normal delivery or the Sometimes the congenital infections were there. I'll talk about that later on. So that demonstrated this thing in animal model and observed that the infection occurred during the first trimester of the pregnancy. The incidence of fetal and neonatal death was very high, about 66% it was there, as compared to the third trimester of the pregnancy, which was only in 13%. Next. This was all completely new finding, and that's why we published in a very good journals at that time. Next. Then we came across another very interesting finding. While we were doing this study, the mice, pregnant mice, we were infected for the first time. We were keeping them in a very carefully, they were all numbered, and we observed that some of the pregnant mice, which were perfectly normal, mated after a year or so, that the normal male mice again transmitted the virus, and which was a very unusual finding. It was never described before, the persistence and latency of the Japanese encephalitis virus, and so we did a careful study. JV infected pregnant mice. We observed that they transmitted the virus in consecutive pregnancy. After a year, we successfully isolated the virus of JE from the infant mice. This signifies the persistence of the virus. And the incidence of abortion was slightly high during the consecutive pregnancy than during the first time in pregnancy. So we established that the virus persists this was also the first report in literature showing the persistence of the virus and transmission of the virus during the consecutive pregnancy. Next. So then the question was, how the virus is persisting, why it is persisting. We studied the host defense mechanism. One after the other, the new things were coming out. The host defense mechanism was, we studied both the cell-mediated immune response as well as the early humoral immune response. We did it by the leukocyte migration inhibition and antibody plaque forming cells, and observed a significant leukocyte migration inhibition and antibody plaque forming after the IP, intraperitoneal or intracerebral inoculation of the Japanese encephalitis virus. So the cell-mediated immune response was not studied before also, and so we demonstrated both the humoral as well as the cell-mediated immune response is generated after the JE virus infection. Next. We study in more detail. We inoculated the mice every week. We studied the neutralizing antibody and renegating inhibiting antibody during the viral infection and demonstrated very good antibody formation. We studied up to 5 weeks and observed the gradual rise in antibody titer is there, and the IgM, we treated the serum with the 2-ME to demonstrate the presence of the IgM antibody. But the IgM antibody was present only the first 2 weeks, and after that, the heat-regulating inhibiting antibodies are there. Very good antibody, neutralizing antibody was there, and a good titer reached by 5 weeks. So both the antibodies are there. And then we thought the mice developed a very good cell-mediated as well as the humoral antibody, but why they are not protective in nature? And then we studied the protective role of the antibody and cell-mediated immunity in resistance to JE virus infection. and we obtained the antibodies up to 2 weeks, and we observed antibodies obtained up to 2 weeks after the primary infection protected the recipient mice against the challenge with JEV. So very good protection provided by the antibodies up to 2 weeks after the JEV infection, but antibodies obtained to 4 to 5 weeks after the infection failed to protect the mice in spite of the presence of the neutralizing antibody. That means the neutralizing antibodies are not protective in nature. Though the antibodies are there, but they fail to protect the mice. The adoptive transfer of the immune spleen cells obtained up to 2 weeks after the immunization provided the protection, but not after that. So that means both the antibodies and cell-mediated immunity provide the protection only up to 2 weeks, not after that. And these findings suggest role of the T lymphocytes and IgM antibodies in recovery from JE infection for a short period of time. So the antibodies are there after 2 weeks, but they were not protective in nature. And then we tried to find out why the antibodies are not protected. We looked for the suppressor cells, demonstrated the appearance of the 2 different sets of the suppressor cell, one for the humoral and the other for the cell-mediated immune response, resulting in immunosuppression. The suppressor cell appear after the 2 weeks, and suppressor cell suppress the humoral and cell-mediated immune response, and this helps in persistence and latency of the virus. All these what I am presenting today is the findings which were not worked out before or completely new finding at that time. When we studied the persistence in detail, inoculated the mice, every week we tried to isolate the virus and observed that up to 4 weeks in normal mice and 16 weeks in pregnant mice, the virus persists. And after that, every effort was made to isolate the virus, but we failed. That means after the primary infection, the virus persists up to 4 weeks, and in pregnant mice, pregnancy is known to produce immunosuppression. So pregnant mice, it is up to 16 weeks after the birth. And then it becomes latent. Probably it becomes latent. So we did the reactivation experiments by giving the cyclophosphamide, which is a immunosuppressive agent, or by pregnancy. Pregnancy is also known to produce immunosuppression. And next slide. And when we successfully isolated the virus, and so we confirmed the virus persists for a very long time, and during the consecutive pregnancy, because the immunosuppression is there, the reactivation of the virus is observed. It is not only in the pregnant mice, or in the mice we also demonstrated that apparently normal looking baby mice which were delivered from the infected mother, we kept those mice also very carefully numbered, and we examined those baby mice routinely, and we successfully isolated the virus from the baby mice. We demonstrated the presence by elicitation of the JV specific cell-mediated immune response by foot peg swelling reaction, indicating the presence of JV antigen specific reactive T cells. And then some of the mice, they were there for about 6 months or a year, and some of them, they developed the latent clinical manifestation as runting and hydrocephalus. These are very interesting mice. Some of the mice, when they developed the hydrocephalus, we were not sure. From the CSF, we were successfully isolated the virus and demonstrated that this infection is definitely due to the Japanese encephalitis virus. So it's not only that the virus persists in JV infected mice, or pregnant mothers who were inoculated, but the virus persistence was also demonstrated in newborn baby mice, and also when these mice were kept for a year or so. While we were studying these cases, so the one thing I said in the beginning, there was neutrophil leukocytosis. And neutrophil leukocytosis, actually this thing was puzzling us. Why the neutrophils, they are increasing during the JE virus infection? Usually during the viral infection, the lymphocytes are increased. Next slide. And we observe the leukocytosis, which is also again not usually seen in the viral infection. There was marked neutrophilia, and it is not only the peripheral blood smear showed the neutrophil leukocytosis, there was the marked infiltration of the neutrophils in different organs. So we actually did the histopathological study of number of the organs, the kidney, the spleen, and we observed. This is the histopathological studies in the spleen revealed extensive cellular infiltration after Japanese encephalitis virus infection. On alternate days, we examined the histopathological section of the spleen of JV infected mice, studied them very carefully for macrophage infiltration by macrophages, neutrophils, and observed whether the congestion is there or not. And we observed there was a gradual rise in the neutrophil. First there was infiltration of the macrophage, which started appearing from day 7 and lasted up to day 15. The neutrophils are also increased, but the maximum increase of the neutrophil was between day 9 and 11. And it was, the infiltration was also there on day 13. So the first thing which increased during the JE virus infection, we observed in the spleen, is the macrophages, and they start appearing large number from day 7. The reason for this increase in the cell count was not known. So while I was working on this, I tried to find out what is the cause, why it is neutrophils are increased, and then with the culture of these, is there some factor which is secreted during the JE virus infection which increases the neutrophil? So 24-hour spleen cell culture supernatant on different days following JE virus infection were tested for neutrophil chemotactic activity. So the mice were inoculated with the JE. On different days, the spleen cell culture supernatant was prepared, and 24-hour spleen cell culture supernatant was collected and was tested for the neutrophil chemotactic activity using the Boyden chamber technique, and observed prediction of a unique chemotactic factor which was not described before in JE virus infection, which was maximum on day 7. So there is a increase in the neutrophil production of a neutrophil chemotactic factor which attacks the neutrophils, and started appearing. Maximum production was on day 7. Then to delineate the type, cell type, which is responsible for attracting the cells responsible for neutrophil chemotactic activity, we separated the macrophage, T lymphocyte, B lymphocyte, etc. from the spleen, and they were cultured and their chemotactic activities were studied, and we observed that the macrophage secrete a chemotactic factor, and which was maximum of at day 48 hours and of the infection. Then the T lymphocyte and the B lymphocyte. So neutrophil activity resided in the macrophage, while the T and B lymphocyte failed to attract the neutrophil. This was named, and we named it as a macrophage-derived chemotactic factor, or started calling it as MDF. So the first time demonstrated production of a neutrophil chemotactic factor by the macrophages, which during the JE virus infection, maximum if you culture it at the, yes, to purify this macrophage derived factor. What is this? Is we did purification done by gel filtration using the self-ethyl S200 column, and this is the analysis of the protein during the gel filtration, and the peak activity, we tested every peak. Number of fractions were tested for the chemotactic activity, and we observed that the chemotactic activity resides in peak 4, and it is there. So that this is the peak 4, which contains the chemotactic activity. This purified factor, to find out its molecular weight, SDS phase was done, and the chemotactic factor. This is a very purified factor. It moves on the SDS page, and a single band of 10 kD was obtained, which had a very good chemotactic activity. Next. So, to study the biological effect of the macrophage derived factor, I am not going to the details of this, but I have summarized what are the biological effects of the MDF. The purified MDF we inoculated into the mice and observed it attracts neutrophil, and this is a macrophage derived factor, we named it as MDF. It attracts the neutrophil. It alters the vascular permeability, resulting in leakage of plasma protein and erythrocyte. So in these cases, there is a encephalitis patient, there is a collection of plasma protein and erythrocytes at the site in the brain. It breaches the blood-brain barrier, and then it took about a year or two to study its other effect. It degrades the virus. When these things happen, what is the advantage of this? And then we demonstrated this factor. It degrades the virus via triggering the respiratory burst, generation of the toxic oxygen radicals, that is production of the nitric oxide and free radicals, and this inhibits the viral replication. So this finally we reached that MDF, which is produced during the JE virus infection, is beneficial because it degrades the virus via triggering the respiratory burst, generation of the toxic oxygen radicals, and production of the nitric oxide free radicals, and inhibits the virus replication. It's actually the work which was, my PhD students, they worked very hard to reach the final diagnosis. This is neutrophil infiltration in the spleen after the JE virus infection. Extensive infiltration of the neutrophil is there in the spleen. Next. This is in the brain where the large number of the RBC and the inflammatory cells are there. Next. Then while we were studying these cases, we thought that we should study in the human cases also. So JE confirmed patient also showed the presence of a chemotactic factor, and we named it as a human macrophage derived factor, which was detected detected in 92% cases of acute blood samples. Peripheral blood mononuclear cells were cultured, and highest level of the HMDF was detected during the second week of the illness. So it's not only that experimentally we demonstrated the presence of the production of the macrophage derived factor, but we also demonstrated in the human cases also. Thus we realize that faced with the JV infection, early defense mechanism of the body act via a unique protein, that is HMDF, which through a regulated network prevents the virus from replication. And this explains why less than 1% of the JV infected patients develop the encephalitis. Because this is a defense mechanism. neutrophil, there is an early defense mechanism which inhibits the multiplication of the virus and explains why less than 1% of the JE infected patient develops the encephalitis. So, to conclude this thing, we established for the first time the cause of unknown epidemic in 1978 as JE virus infection. We demonstrated also for the first time transplacental transmission of the virus during pregnancy. Also demonstrated the persistence, latency, and reactivation of the virus. And we observed these cases, they presented with the neutrophil leukocytosis, and then demonstrated a production of a unique neutrophil chemotactic factor, which is known now as MDF, produced by macrophages, was detected. It is 10 kDa protein. Various biological effects of MDF was studied. It attracts and activates the neutrophil, regulates granulocytosis, reaches the blood-brain barrier, increases the capillary permeability, and degrades the virus. That is the last. Thank you very much for the patience.
Thank you, ma'am, for giving so much detailed work, basic research you have done in a resource-limited laboratory. And we know that KGMU that time in 35 years ago was not so advanced and has a very limited resources in the laboratory. In that laboratory, if we see the work of madam, we can see that all the tests which we are theoretically reading in virology has been done earlier, like heme agglutination inhibition, neutralization test, HDO space, everything had been done, and this is presently we are not doing. And another thing, when we were in MBBS, we were shown the inclusion bodies in monocular microscope. Now presently we have the binocular and the Olympus microscope, and we have all the resources. So now I would like to request again to madam to say a few words about to our young faculty, to our students, so they can be boosted for their research work.
I can only advise to work hard. There is no perseverance is the most important thing. There is no shortcut to reach the to fulfill your aim. It's only the hard work which is responsible. So I'm only say, be careful. It's nothing. When we start, I was working on the respiratory virus, not on the Japanese encephalitis, and dengue was endemic there. So we were studying the dengue virus mostly, and different viruses. I was working on measles, get training in England on the respiratory virus. We started working on the respiratory virus. Then suddenly this epidemic starts, and investigated this case. You'll be surprised, as I said, that the Gorakhpur is about 200 kilometers, and I think I have visited Gorakhpur so many times. I and my team, excellent work they did it, and they worked very hard. So I can advise the young students, keep your eyes open, and then you can do anything. It's only your wish and your hard work which will pay only to you. That's all.
Now if from the audience,
Vaccination, JE mass vaccination for adults.
And another thing, also the efficacy of the Japanese encephalitis vaccine that is presently being used, that was also highly criticized. I mean, there is doubt on the efficacy. So what is your say on these two issues now?
Now I am very happy that the vaccine has developed, and the Virus Research Center at Pune has worked very hard, and the Babylon, we were also the part of in development of the vaccine. And so the number of the cases has decreased a lot, and this is due to the vaccination. It's very good that the vaccination program has started. Otherwise, this time the cases were not high, but this is the period where the large number of the cases are there. So vaccination is very good, and I advise everyone should take the vaccination.
For children, yes, it has been
Yeah,
good
for children
in
it is
the
good.
districts. But recently, the adults, more than 15 years vaccination has been started for them. And there was criticism of this issue because, again, there are a few numbers, because it has been seen that now the numbers of mortality in Japanese encephalitis cases are rising in adults.
Yeah.
In children, it is decreasing.
Yeah.
So the
In the beginning, they started giving the vaccine to everybody, the adults as well as the young ones. And then we observed the incident, because the vaccine number was not very high, the doses were not high, and that's why it started giving the vaccine to young ones. But it is good for both young as well as the adults.
there was this discussion that it is not economical for our country.
That's why I said that it's not very economical. But in the epidemic area, everyone should be vaccinated. But it's better to give to the young one than the adult one, because the immunity developed by that time against the
There are
Japanese.
very few non-immune adults. and-
Yeah, it's a non-immune person only in which you can give the vaccine.
Thank you.
What would be your advice to blood banks about what should be the quarantine period?
Virus is never present. Virus is very difficult. It's not present in the peripheral blood, because immediately it goes into the spleen, it goes into the lymphoid organ through macrophages, it travels to the spleen and the liver, multiplied there, complete recovery. If a good immune response is there, otherwise it travels to the brain.
So what would be the
So we can give, I think it is not necessary to test every unit of, every person who donate the blood for the JE. There are very important things which are transmitted by the blood as a HIV and the other diseases. So those things are necessary. Hepatitis C, hepatitis B, HIV, all these cases it is necessary to donate blood, to screen the blood.
Madam, I am senior resident pathology. There are some cases in article that vaccine-induced death due to Japanese encephalitis. Did you have any data or any study that vaccine-induced patients are really due to immune response death, or they have also virus that leading to death?
Vaccine-induced vaccine-induced encephalitis is not actually very. There are few reports, and very few reports, and these patients were immunosuppressed, or the very young children, in which that's why in some of the cases they, instead of giving the protection, they stimulate the virus and they develop the disease.
Myself, I'm from Department of Community and Family Medicine.
Okay.
Ma'am, we used to teach students when we teach about Japanese encephalitis that half of the population in South India is already having,
Antibodies are there.
So do we have the similar response in the eastern part of
Yeah,
India?
large number of them. Now we screen the patient, and large number of them have the antibodies again. That's why I said the disease is only common in the young, very young patient or very young children, and because the antibodies are not there. Otherwise, it's a natural immunity against the Japanese encephalitis virus.
And one more question, as we said that, as Dr. Daisy also said, that this vaccine is not usually recommended in children less than 6 months of age also.
No.
So we usually prescribe it after 6 months of age. We say that if from mother, if she is immune, she has already been vaccinated.
Right.
So that transplacental transfer worked in that.
Yeah.
So do we need boosters? Because there's again a
Yeah,
question.
always a booster is given
needed?
after a year and then after 3 years. Because the immunity is not very lasting, and that's why the boosters are necessary in these cases.
Thank you.
MDF, macrophage derived factor. Is it protective for some other organisms and viruses?
No. It's only for the Japanese encephalitis, not for any other.
And for the macrophage, only
Because macrophages are stimulated or infected with the JE virus, then only they secrete the substance.
the infected macrophage only can
Only it can do. Because I have demonstrated a table in which we separated the macrophages, T cells and B cells, and inoculated with the JE virus. The maximum production of the JE it is at 48 hours after the infection, and 24 hours there is a, so it's only the macrophage, no T cell or B cells they secrete the macrophage, this factor, neutrophil chemotactic factor.
and within human body, which is the most important carrier cell, macrophage is the one like transport the virus to other organs.
It is the macrophages which are carry, and in some other organs also, the virus persists in some of the organs and it is there.
When MDF, the infected macrophage, how does it get killed itself? Like MDF is also doing some autocrine something for and macrophage is infected. It is also spreading to other organs. It is secreting MDF, which is protective against the virus.
Yeah.
How does the macrophage, which is infected,
Because the virus is there and that's why they secrete the factor.
so neutrophils can
They
damage,
attract the neutrophil,
body's own macrophage can be damaged by this.
they attract the neutrophil in the body.
One query, the monoclonal antibodies were developed in your lab or did you get a ready-made one? The monoclonal antibodies that you used for the JE antigen, was it prepared in your lab, ma'am? The monoclonal antibodies used
The
for
human antibody, they start appearing after about a week. I demonstrated the table, the very
monoclonal antibody that was used in your experiment.
monoclonal, I received it because they are not preparing the monoclonal. It's not an easy process to prepare the monoclonal. And I was in England, and Dr. Gold actually gave this monoclonal antibody in a, there is a very good arbovirus center, and they are preparing the monoclonal. We are not preparing the monoclonal ourselves.
Ma'am,
One more question. Yeah. You have to
it's
listen.
just told that the mosquito recognizes the virus as bad and kills the genome. Ma'am, then as it kills the genome, then how is it the transmitting agent? Because if it is killing the genome, then how can it transmit the?
They are that genome which is bad for the mosquito. They are not destroying the genome for the human being also.
Good morning, ma'am. I'm a 7th semester MBBS student. You said that means for macrophages they secrete this macrophage-derived chemotactic factor. How is neutrophil chemotaxis protective against JE?
How the neutrophil are protective in nature.
This feature it releases this factor. Now, how does this factor exactly provide protection against JE?
This factor attracts the neutrophil. And defense mechanism, early defense mechanism, what are the cells which are taking part in early defense mechanism?
Neutrophils, the cells of the
Macrophage and
immunity.
neutrophils, so they provide the protection. When the large number of the neutrophils are generated, stimulated by the macrophage AI factor, they provide the protection. And also helps in degradation of the virus.
So, virus it will help in degradation of the extracellular virus. Ma'am, how will neutrophils reach the intracellular virus, which will be the usual location?
In the virus, they infect the macrophages and they are present in the, it is not directly they are killing, but they secrete the substance which MDF, which kills the virus.
Thank you, ma'am.
It is intracellular event, and in which I said it how the degradation of the virus is there.
On behalf of All India Institute of Medical Sciences, we gratefully acknowledge the illuminating talk given by Professor Asha Mathur, and I think we have been enlightened by the rich experience of Madam over a period of years, and she has devoted and focused on Japanese encephalitis, identified one of the cause of the altered sensorium in the children and the adult also, and in the pregnant and transmission. So we have very much benefited, and I thank Professor Asha Mathur for this talk, and I thank all our director Dr. Sanjeev Mishra, all the faculty member, and all the students of the 3rd semester, 5th semester and 7th semester for their participation and their active questioning. Thank you. And I now request our director, sir, Dr. Sanjeev Mishra, to present a token of appreciation, a memento, to Professor Asha Mathur. And now I request Professor Vijay Lakshmi Nag, Head of Department of Microbiology, to present a token of appreciation. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you very much. Now we request everybody for a tea, which is in the examination hall.